Good morning, distance learners. You will notice in the packet that your parents picked up that you have this book and some papers in here. And since this is the first week, I'm going to just kind of walk you through what is expected of you, what your lessons are going to look like, and we'll go from there and see how it goes this week, okay? Before you get started even opening this, I want you to use those reading strategies that we've talked about in the past. Just think about, imagine a world without fish in it. What would your life be like without fish? Would it be any different? So think about those things, and then I kind of want you to just take your book and just kind of flip through it. And what are some things you notice in the book? What are some things that you wonder about? What are some things that excite you about starting this new text? So I want you to take a minute, just pause this video, take a minute and do that. Okay, so we're going to start the first lesson. So this is Tuesday's lesson. And we're really going to be focusing this week on getting the gist of a text. So the gist is just a basic understanding of what the text is about. So I want you to open your book, and you'll notice that the introduction is all done in Roman numerals, which is something that you might not have had before. But I want you to turn to page X, and X is the page that looks like this, where it starts with most stories. And I want you to just read from X to XII, so the first 3 pages. I just want you to read that. So pause the video and read those first 3 pages. So once you've read the first 3 pages, what do you now know about this book? What is it going to be about? I want you to take out your yellow paper, and we're going to be using this throughout the entire book, and this is called our word catcher. So I just want you guys to know that this text is very challenging, and we're going to use our word catcher to write down words that are difficult for us, or maybe we still don't understand. We're going to be reading this book in just really small chunks each day because it is challenging. And we're going to read things multiple times. So we're going to talk about getting the gist. So if you would turn back to this page X, I'm going to read this page to you. And then we're going to talk about how we're going to get the gist of it together. So open to this page and read it in your head while I read it out loud. Most stories about the destruction of the planet involve a villain with an evil plot, but this is the story of how the Earth could be destroyed by well-meaning people who fail to solve a problem simply because their calculations are wrong. Heavy stuff, right? So what is this page mostly about? I want you to take out your sticky notes, and I want you to write just a quick summary of what is this page mostly about. Pause the video while you do that. Now that you've written on a sticky note and stuck it on your book about what this page is mostly about, were there any unfamiliar words that you didn't know? Some examples could be destruction. Do you know what that means? Villain, destroyed, calculations. So if any of those words were difficult for you or you needed to look up those definitions, I want you to put those words on your word catcher. Let's talk about words and how we can figure out unfamiliar vocabulary. So what strategies can we use? Context clues, right? So we can read through and try to make meaning from words around it. We can look at the root word if there's a root word for clues. You can read around the word, just kind of skip it and see what would make sense to put in there. Or you can use a dictionary, right? So if there's ever words you don't know, look them up in a dictionary or use a website like dictionary.com. So I want you to take out your sticky notes and I want you to write the gist of each section on your sticky note, okay? So I want you to look through again, starting on page X through XII, and write the gist of those 3 pages on sticky notes. So go through the text and do those first 3 pages. And pause the video while you do that. After you've done the gist of the first 3 pages, there were some words that I thought we could focus on. Cormorants, if you didn't know what that word means, that was on I believe that was on page XI. That's a type of bird, if you didn't know. Industrial Revolution and generation were some tricky vocabulary. So if you don't know what those are, I'm going to encourage you to write those down in your word catcher, look those up in your dictionary, and write down those definitions. Then the last thing I want you to do, well, not the last thing, but the next thing I want you to do is take out your text-dependent questions. There's 5 questions today. And what I want you to do is, since you've already read for the gist, now I have 5 questions that you need to answer. And when you answer those, you need to support them with evidence from your text, okay? So the best thing to do is read the question, write your answer, and then write what page number you found that answer on. Once you're done with that, what are the main ideas that you are taking away after reading this excerpt? So what are the main ideas that you came up with? One of the big things is fish depletion, which depletion means that the numbers are going down. So that's going to be a primary focus of study throughout this whole unit when we read World Without Fish. So after you've done all those things, homework for the other kids in the class, all of this is homework for you guys, but you have a homework question, and the question is, how does Mark Kurlansky introduce his idea of fish depletion in the first few pages of World Without Fish? I'm going to read it again, and I want you to think about your answer and email it to me. So answer this question in an email to me. How does Mark Kurlansky introduce his idea of fish depletion in the first few pages of World Without Fish? So once you've gone through and done everything in the lesson today, I want you to answer that in an email. Your yellow page, you are going to keep this throughout this entire unit, so please do not turn this one in at the next time. But I do want you to turn in these 5 questions with their page numbers as evidence when you turn in your work next week. I think that's all for day 1. Have a great day.